Adventuron Classroom has a number of lessons, so it's split into the lesson list, the editor, and the preview window. For this particular video, I'm not going to show the lesson list on the left-hand side, so I'll just show you what that looks like. So there's a bunch of lessons here which will teach you how to make a very big game. So maybe a game with 13 puzzles. But today we're just going to make a game with one puzzle, and I'm going to talk you through that. So if you click this button down here, you see this option, Display Side Documentation. So if you click this, it's going to get rid of that side panel and gives a little bit more space to work with. So now we just have the editor window on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side we have the preview window. So in the editor window, if you have a blank editor window, you can press Control and Space to see a template. On some keyboards that might be Alt and Space. So on this keyboard, because we're Windows 10, Control and Space, now we have a template of a text adventure. And if you click this button up here, you will get a preview of that adventure. So if we click to continue, you are in a room. Now it's not a very interesting adventure so far. I'm going to click this button up here, which will make everything go full screen. And to get out of full screen, just press Escape. But that gives us a little bit more space to work with. If you don't know what text adventures are, then you should click the button down here. Click here to see for an intro video. And it will give you a 2-minute introduction video to text adventures and roughly how to play the game. Adventuron itself, when you have an adventure, it automatically maps the help command. So if you type in help here, it just gives you some basic tips on the types of words that you can use to interact with the game. But for the most part, this tutorial will be dealing with a verb-noun adventure. Something like get apple, drop apple, throw apple, something like that. So a verb is a doing word and a noun is an object word. So let's back to the text on the left-hand side. What we're going to do now is create an adventure with 4 locations and 1 puzzle. So this is the start location of the adventure, so start at, then this is the identifier of the location that we want to start at. So we're going to start by the lakeside. So the lake side. So you are by the side of a beautiful lake. And we'll enter a few more locations in here. So we'll have a forest. You are on the forest path. Then we're going to put a line feed, which is a \n. Tall trees tower over you on both sides. Then we will have an outside cave location. You are, sorry, my voice is a little bit rough today. Standing. The Cave of Magic. Inside cave. You are standing inside the Cave of Magic. Oh, let's get rid of standing. Inside the Cave of Magic. And then we just say where we want to start. We want to start by the lakeside. We're by the side of a beautiful lake. And obviously we can't go anywhere now, so we can't move between locations. So we have to connect them. This is going to be a very simple map. So we have this connections section here. And inside there we have from direction to. This is the from location. This is the direction. This is the to location. So the from location, if we press Control and Space here, or Alt and Space depending on your keyboard, we can say we want to go from the lakeside, north. So we type in the first few letters, N-O. We press Enter now because north is selected. Control Space again to the forest. Then we press Enter to get a new line. Control Space again. We're going to go from the forest leads north to outside the cave. From outside the cave leads north to inside the cave. And there we have the navigation has been added. We can go north, we can go north, we can go north, and we're inside the Cave of Magic. And the point of this game is actually to get into the Cave of Magic where there is treasure. So let's create that treasure, and let's create another few objects. So we're going to have a troll that's blocking the entrance to the cave. So troll is scenery because you can't pick up the troll. So scenery is something that you can't take with you. So we'll just say this is a troll, and we'll describe this troll as an enormous troll. And we'll say that the troll is starting outside the cave. Then I'm going to add a few lines at the bottom here just so I can push that up. Okay. I just did that with enter. I press Control Space here. I can select again. Now, this is a spoiler for the puzzle, but we're going to send that troll to sleep. So we're going to say this is a sleeping troll. And to separate words, we use underscore. In Adventuron, we just use underscore. We can't use space because space would be interpreted as something different. So we use underscore, and this would be the adjective, and this would be the noun. So we're going to say an enormous troll sleeping. And the area between the quotes here is what appears in the object list for the location. So the enormous troll sleeping doesn't exist when the game starts. The troll exists when the game starts. So just to show you that, if I press play here, if I go north and north, it's listing an enormous troll outside the Cave of Magic. But he's really doing nothing at the moment. And so now we're going to create an object called an apple. And the apple doesn't exist when the game starts. And we're also going to create an object called treasure. I'm going to just call this a pile of treasure. And we're going to place that. So if we press Control Space between this quote and this semicolon here, we get a bunch of options. One of them is the start location. Press Control Space again here. It gives us a list of locations. Inventory is the player's pocket, so it starts with the player. We don't want that in the player's pocket at the start of the game. We want it inside the cave. So select that there. We press the play button again. Now we can go north, 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 and there is a pile of treasure inside the cave. Now, just sharing a location with a pile of treasure should be enough to win the game because this is a short game. The real obstacle is getting past the troll, but the troll is not blocking us right now. But one thing we'll do right away is we'll create a little message at the start of the game, because when the game starts, it's just you're by the side of a beautiful lake. So we don't want that. So we create a startup event. So on startup, print magic cave awaits you. And see, that just flashed by. You didn't even see it. So we need to hold. So if we press any key, this is like waiting for user input. We click that here. The magic cave awaits you. Now you've got to press a button. You know what you have to do. So you have to get in the magic cave. So that's this event is ran when the game starts on startup. But we really want the troll to block the entrance to the cave. So to do that, we create a barrier. So if we press Control Space here in some of the blank space, we press B-A-R-R. Then we press Control Space, ask if we want a block a path, or a door. We only want a block right now. Block is blocking a location from any direction. And because there's only one direction that leads into the cave, we just block the cave. So we just say block cave. And the location we want to block is inside the cave. And the block message is, it's going to be blocked by the troll. So the block message for the cave is, the troll is guarding the cave. So let's select that. We'll put it in full caps because it's nice and shouty. Now, a block needs a reason to be blocking, so we will go to a line and say block when. Oops, block. So we say block when the troll exists. So if the troll exists, then we're going to be blocking that location with this message. But we're also going to say that we want to show the blocked exit as true. Yeah. So by default, if you're blocking an exit, the exit is not listed. But in this case, we want to show that north is where the player should be going. And because there's no penalty to actually banging into the troll is not going to kill us in this case. We just show the blocked exit. So click that, north, north, north. The troll is guarding the cave. So we can't get in the cave anymore. If we type in north, it doesn't work. If we click north, that doesn't work. So that block is working. So the great thing about this block is that it kind of maintains itself. So if we ever remove the troll from the game, then this block will be deactivated. So we don't need to do, so all of the blocking logic is in this one blocking part. We don't need to distribute our blocking logic. The logic to remove the troll is separate to this, but the block itself is self-contained just inside this block. So now the troll is guarding the cave. So what do we do? How do we get past the troll? So we need to give the player some idea of how to negotiate the troll. I mean, the player might type in a lot of things like kill troll, attack troll, bribe troll, all kinds of things. But this is a very small scope game, so we're going to make it very obvious what we have to do with the troll. So we're going to create some responses now to commands that the player might type in. So the player types in commands. So if we type in command here, command, we see that there's a section called on command. So now we've created the on command section. And I'm just checking my notes here. What we need to do is to firstly give a hint of, so when we encounter the troll, give a hint of what the troll wants. And in this case, the troll is just going to be hungry. So we're just going to tell the player that. Now, if you don't know how to play text adventure games, if you don't know how to use the examine command, like I say, click this link at the bottom. And help does tell you here that the player can type in X, then the object name to examine an item. So hopefully they'll be examining the troll to find out what the troll is wanting. But if you know how to play text adventure games, this would be second nature. So we press Control Space and we have options here for processing commands. We'll just select match. And matches are just for verb nouns right now. I mean, you can elaborate it to processing complex sentences, but we're just going to use the simple verb noun case. So in the case of verb noun, we just type in the verb noun we want. So we say examine, yeah, examine, troll. Or maybe talk, troll. Now, you don't need to put the preposition in there. So if the player types in talk to troll, most of the standard prepositions would be dealt with in the correct context, so you can just assume that the preposition doesn't matter. The parser will deal with the preposition of talk to troll. So talk to troll, talk troll will be the same thing. But we also need to make sure that this will only give a response if we're in the presence of the troll. So if we say if present troll, then print, and we're using Control Space here, so let me roll that back. I press Control Space on the line in between the match here. I select if with enter. The cursor here is between the parentheses. I press Control Space again. I get a list of conditions that I can apply here. I just want to see if something is present. Now, you could just scroll through each of these and see which one you want, but I know the one I want is present, so I just type in PRE, and I've narrowed it down to just one item. Now I press enter. Now my cursor is between the double quotes. I press Control Space again, and now it gives me the context sensitive. It knows that the only things that are valid here are entities, such as objects, and there is the troll. So if I say if the troll is present, then print And now I need to escape these quotes. I'm so hungry, says the enormous troll in the deepest possible voice. So now the player knows the troll is hungry if the player examines the troll. So let's go to the troll. Firstly, let's examine the troll here. The enormous troll is not here, okay. And if I examine the troll here, I'm so hungry, says the enormous troll in the deepest possible voice. So that has given the player a hint that they need to find some item of food or to feed the troll. So if we go south, we see some tall trees tower over you on both sides. Maybe that's, maybe we can get a fish from the lake, or maybe we can get an apple from the tree, but the hint is that we already created an apple here. So let's say the player examines the trees. So examine trees. And if we are at, so if type in AT, so if we're at the forest and we examine the trees, then we will print the message apple trees. So now the player knows that there are apples in the tree. So let's try that again. So if we type in examine trees, nothing. Examine trees in the forest, apple trees. Okay. So what do we want to do? Yeah, if we now create something called pick apple or get apple, take that space out. And if we haven't created, so if we haven't created an apple and we are at, sorry, I'm going too fast again. So press Control Space, we get the if. The if is at the top because it's the most useful. And then we press Control Space again. We want to check to see that we haven't created the apple. So if we type in pick apple or get apple, what we want to do is to create the apple object for the player to take. So if we press Control and Space and we say we haven't created the apple, if we haven't created the apple, and now and is these two ampersands together, so you have to be able to type that manually. I think there is, you can select and here from the options, but it's easy just to type it manually if you know what it is. And then you press Control Space again and you say if you haven't created the apple, and if we're at the forest, then create the apple. And creating the apple will just create the current location. You can configure that, but creation will generally just create the apple in the current location. And then redescribe. So that will then list the apple after you've created it. So let's check that out. So if we go north, we examine the trees. Apple trees, okay, pick apple. You see an apple, get the apple. Now if we type in inventory, oops, inventory, you're carrying an apple. Great, fine. So now we have something that the troll might want. So we're going to take a little detour here. I'm going to add a little embellishment. So when we, so I'm in the space here. When we enter the location with the troll, we want the troll to say something, so the troll is more active, because at the moment it just lists the troll. The troll's not doing anything. So when we enter that location, we're describing the location. Every time we enter, this is a description. This is a description. So we have an event handler here called onDescribe. onDescribe. So so if we are at, oh no, let's just say if the troll is present when we're describing, then print this message. Just that the troll seems, so it said, just that the troll seems more lively. troll says, the cave is mine, go away. So now when we enter the location with the troll, every time we describe the location for one time, the troll, that message will be printed. So we go north, north. The troll says, the cave is mine, go away. Alright, so now we have a little bit of a challenge, and the troll has a little bit more of a personality, and of course you can build a lot of personality into the troll with more advanced handlers. So now what we want to do is we want to resolve the problem with the troll. So before that, let's deal with the obvious input the player is going to deal with. So the player will try to eat the apple. So if we're if the apple is present, then print. Whoops, not press any key. Print. Unfortunately, the apple was an enchanted apple, and you will now go to sleep forever. Which is a bit harsh, but maybe you'll get woken up, who knows. And then we end the game. Okay, so let's pick the apple. We don't need to examine it first. Get the apple, eat the apple. Unfortunately, the apple was an enchanted apple, and you will now go to sleep forever. So that covers the eventuality, and it also gives a hint that the apple will send whoever eats it to sleep, which is exactly the puzzle which is coming up next. So now let's say we want to give the apple to the troll. So we give the apple, and if the troll is present, so if the troll is present and we are carrying, so we type in the first couple letters, so I just typed in C-A-R-R, sorry for my voice. So if the apple is present and if the apple is carried and the troll is present, then now we're going to do a couple of things. So let's print a message. Troll grabs the apple from you hungrily. Hungrily? I hope that's correct. Unfortunately for the troll, the apple is an enchanted apple and sends the troll directly to sleep. Now we get rid of the apple. So what we've done now is we've just printed a message if you typed in give apple when you're holding the apple in the presence of the troll. So now we want to destroy the apple, which is to take it out of the game. We can bring it back. Destroying just places it outside of the game world. And then we will swap the troll for the sleeping troll. So the sleeping troll was outside the game and the troll was inside the game, so it switches their locations. And now we press any key so that the player can read this message. Because if we didn't press any key here, then it would simply skip past it. So now we do a redescribe. So by destroying the troll, then what will happen is that the block is dependent on the troll existing. So once we swap the position of the troll for the sleeping troll, the troll no longer exists. So if we go north, so let's just show that the block is working. The troll is guarding the cave. The block is working. So we pick an apple, we get the apple, we go north, we give the apple. Troll grabs the apple from you hungrily. Unfortunately for the troll, the apple is an enchanted apple and send the troll directly to sleep. I think that should be sends. So let's type in and sends the troll directly to sleep. So I didn't show something there. So if we're going to pick the apple again, get apple, north, give apple. But now we can go, you see the troll that's there is the sleeping troll, not this troll. It's not this troll, it's this troll. So now we can go north, and we're in the Cave of Magic with the pile of treasure. But that's the end of the game, and nothing is happening. So again, we can put something in this onDescribe hook here. So we can say, if inside the cave, if we're at the inside the cave, then print congratulations, print you won the game, print your ranking is junior, oops, Adventuron, lots of exclamation marks, and then endgame. Endgame automatically has a precedent key associated with it. So that's good. That's good. That should be that we have some win game condition. So let's do this. North, pick, oops, apple, get apple, north, give apple, north. Congratulations, you won the game. Your ranking is Junior Adventurer, and you see that you're inside the Cave of Magic. And that's essentially it. I mean, that's a one puzzle game. The objective of that game was to gain access to the Cave of Magic, which wasn't very magical, to be perfectly honest, but there we go. And so now, if I press escape to get out of here, or is it F11? F11. So obviously this is functional, but there are a few things that you can do. So for example, and I'm not going to go through all of these, but I can show you at least one of them. I can show you that we can make this quite special. So if we use the less than symbol and the greater than symbol, and then inside there, less than, greater than symbol, this is the format for embedding colourful text right now. There will be a different way of doing this that's a little bit more simple in the future, but this will still stand. You know, this is like markup. This is a very simple markup. So we say Cave of Magic, and then we give it a color, and this corresponds to ZX Spectrum palette colors right now, but in the future it will correspond to any custom palette color. So the ZX Spectrum had 15 palette colors, so we're going to choose one of those. The best ones to use are numbers between 1 and 6 and 8 and 15. So well, that's not true. Anyway, let's choose color. Color 5 is cyan. You can just try them out and see which ones they are, because they only go up to 15. So if we save that, press the button. Oh, that's the inside the Cave of Magic. All right, so we'll do the same thing with the outside the Cave of Magic. It's just that we can see it easily. So go north, standing outside the Cave of Magic. The troll says, "The cave is mine, go away." So we can even change this troll text if we wanted to. There are different ways of doing this, and this isn't necessarily the best way of doing this, but we just do it the same way. So we put a little less than there, and then we'll put a number 2 here, which is red. So now when he's speaking, it should be, oh no, that's when we examine the troll. "I'm so hungry," says the enormous troll in the deepest possible voice. And we can use that with the same kind of incidental text that he's saying here. So now we're getting a little bit of colour into the game. There are lots of different ways to put colour in the game, and this is actually the I know this is not necessarily the best way to do it, but it gives you, at least it gives you granularity of colour. So what we can do next is add graphics into the game. Now I've got paint.net here, and if I click inside paint.net, you see I made some images. These images are 128 pixels by 40 pixels, but they can be any resolution you like. I just want it to look a little bit blocky because my artistic skills are so bad, so I just wanted it to look very blocky. That way I had an excuse. People can do very good art with low resolution images, not me, but I'm even worse with high resolution images. Anyway, these are 5 PNG files: loading screen.png, inside cave.png, outside cave.png, forest.png, and lakeside.png, and they all resolve to less than 1 kilobyte. I mean, if you optimize these PNGs, that is. So what Adventuron will do is it will automatically associate graphics IDs with location IDs, so you don't need to manually stitch these together. So because I named these to match these names, all I actually need to do is to import each of those PNGs one at a time, or you can actually put all the PNGs inside a little zip file. So if I go to the import menu option here, here's a little menu button. If I go to the import, so if I go to the game graphics, so I've put all of these PNG files that you saw earlier, I've put them inside the Cave graphics zip file there, which is 3.78K. So that just contains these PNG files. If I double click that, now you will see, if I turn off word wrap, if I go to the bottom of the page, I've got some assets. Forest, inside cave, lakeside, loading screen, and these are just base 64 representations of the PNG files. And because these IDs match the IDs of locations, they're automatically associated as location IDs. So the layout will deal with that. So if I press play here, and now if I double click on the right hand side here, it should go full screen. There we go. Now if I click north, now it's starting to have a little bit of an atmosphere to it. And we can do some other things as well with regards to having some beeping effects inside here, and we can also color in system messages like exits, north and south, and other things. But I think I'll leave it there for now. Oh no, one thing that I'll add. You see here is a loading screen, but when I start the game, it just comes up with this generic Adventuron Classroom logo. So if I go to the top here, if I press Control Space, if I type in LO, loading screen. Now, on the right hand side here, it expects the ID of a graphics asset. I press Control and Space. These are all the different graphics assets. If I just select loading screen, and then I press play again. So now when I start the game, it's Cave of Magic. And Magic Cave awaits you, and the game starts. Now, the other thing that I want to show you is that if you go to menu and you go to compile, click OK, here is our game as HTML file. It's all standalone. And there you have it. You have a standalone HTML file version of the game. Now I'll produce another video showing how to add the sound effects into the game, how to clean it up a little bit. You may notice that the margin at the top and the margin around this text here is not perfect right now. So I'll deal with that in the next video, but I think it's a good place to end it there right now. Okay, thank you for listening, if you did. Bye-bye.